All right, welcome to Wealth Cartel, where hindsight's a motherfucker.
Our mission is to stop people saying, I wish I had a listen, and to help people capitalise on everyone else's mistakes before making them themselves.
In summary, our tagline says it all: turn our hindsight into your foresight.
So we're just a couple of lads from the West and the Central Coast who grew up without really any wealth around us and used it to motivate us to make something of ourselves.
Along the way, mainly as we matured, we did a lot of things right, but more importantly, we made a lot of mistakes.
A lot of mistakes that could have been avoided by not being know-it-alls and actually listening to what others had told us instead of thinking, no, not me. So my name's Akko. I'm a small business owner with a bunch of franchises called Pen on Picasso at the moment, with large plans of building a large business portfolio.
I'm Kingy. I'm a financial advisor looking to break the mold on what good advice should look like and start teaching people how to enjoy life to the fullest while also planning for tomorrow out of my business, 3 Kings Wealth Management.
Down here at Bella Vista Hotel, guys. Bella Vista Hotel has got a podcast room set up here for everyone to use. It's a great spot, good little setup for us. Nice little backdrop as well, if anyone's seen the backdrop. So, yeah, if it looks familiar to you guys, this is Bella Vista Hotel. Get down.
Get down here. It's got great food, great drinks, great cocktails, a good little atmosphere, not just for the podcast. They come down for the podcast or come down for a feed and check the guys out. Thanks for supporting us.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Wealth Cartel podcast. I think we're episode 14 today with Dane Mulivai. King Dane, he's fresh off the plane in Darwin. He just got up after his disgraceful stoppage against Clay Waterman. That shouldn't have been a stoppage. And where Dane's done it all, right? He's done it hard. We're going to let him talk about this in a minute. He's an achieved boxer at the Com Games in Delhi in 2010. We've got to the quarterfinals. He's dropped some tracks. You might know the infamous Solly Ulfa intro into his song. And he's recently been known for happily accepting big cash as 10K to fight, and he's also a family man. So, Dane, welcome to the podcast, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for putting me on. I appreciate it. I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot to speak about. So, whatever questions you throw at me, I'll be more than obliged to answer them.
Yeah, love it, bro. I love it.
Yeah, I think we're going.
Well, we both chatted. We both love what you're doing with this. I think I said to Ryan the other day, bro. This bloke's off his head. I go, he's nuts. I go, he's just gone into a fight one day. He's posting shit about this shit. The next day, I said, bro, he's legit fucking just gonna say whatever he wants us to get him on. So one thing I really respected what you're doing. It's pretty hard to do these days with a lot of the stuff that's going on, and just the way you sort of speak to the youth, coming from a hard background and growing up. We both sort of grew up in the west of Sydney. I grew up in Blacktown, and Ryan sort of grew up in between Mount Druitt and the Central Coast. And we've sort of seen stuff like that our whole lives. And in my opinion, what you're saying to the youth, there's a lot of people out there with a voice that don't speak, bro, And I think fucking if you've got a following and you're managing to get people listen to you, yeah, I think what you're doing is unreal, bro, for the kids, it's mad.
Yeah, between you and the Track Addicts boys, I think there's some good messages coming out, you know what I mean? I think big fan, shout out to those boys as well. Some real OGs, real Gs that, are sending the right message rather than, chuck some Asics and some TNs on and put a bum bag with a blade on you and all of a sudden you're walking around hood. That's the new generation that it's just twisted that that's what being hood is and that's what it's about. So, bro, we've introed you. Give us a bit of an intro yourself, who you are, where you're from, what life was like growing up and just tell your story.
Easy, man. I was born in Sydney in 1984. So I'm an 80s baby. I was from Sydney, was raised in New Zealand. As like most Samoan people, they come from the islands, they migrate into New Zealand, which is, the closest place for them to get the papers and all that stuff, and for a better life, which is obviously the parents' main concern for their children. Their main goal is to make sure that they have a better life than what they did. I went to school in New Zealand, ended up back here in Australia, in Brisbane this time. And then from Brisbane, I ended up back in Sydney. And the reason, I haven't said this, but the reason, I left, I didn't leave. I got kicked out from New Zealand. Like my dad sent me to Australia because I got kicked out of the schools there.
Right.
And then from Brisbane, the same thing happened in Brisbane. Then I went around to all the schools in Brisbane, and then I ended up in Sydney. Yeah, and then from Sydney, I graduated from Miller High
You went to Miller.
Yeah, I went Miller High.
Yeah, I know a few boys from Miller High. Fuck, I'll tell you what, getting kicked out of schools in Queensland and going to Miller's not going to help you out.
I didn't realise. I never realised that until I was in school, right? And then I was like, man, I fit right in here. Like, it's
yeah, I played footy with a few dudes from Miller, man, and it's a rough neck of the woods, bro. Like, you know what Miller is to me. When I grew up, you know, playing out in Blacktown and that, to me, Blacktown wasn't a rough area because I had mates from the block. I had mates from Redfern from the block, and I was like, fuck, man, I've grown up in a palace compared to where these poor dudes growing up. But that sort of made them, you know what I mean? I got a few mates from Glebe and that, and they love where they're from, you know. And to me, that was how I sort of started encumbering and understanding, you know what, you got to fucking love where you're from, bro, regardless of whether it's the North Shore or fucking Miller or Redbank or New Zealand. As long as you appreciate where you're from and you understand it and you better yourself for it, it's good, you know.
Brother, appreciating where you come from makes you who you are. Now, you know, I don't care what anybody says. I will tell you exactly where I was raised, and I'll tell you exactly how I was raised. But going forward to raise my children, I'm, you know, like, obviously going to go and try the best to not let them live the same way that I went through, you know, like my life. So when you appreciate it, if you can appreciate where you come from, you're going to appreciate every little thing that you're going to get in your life as you get older.
Yeah, I love that, bro. That's sort of what we're trying to do. Like, we had someone on the other week because we talk about taking our lessons on this podcast. We're trying to take our lessons and let other people learn. And one of the hard part is some of the lessons that we've had to learn is what made us all who we are, right? So, but we don't, in the same token, I'm not going to have a kid and I don't want to raise a kid the way I grew up. You know what I mean? I don't want him to have to do that. So even though it made us who it is. So you got to, you know, you got to be proud of where you are and take away what made you who you are, but sort of progress from it, you know, so the next generation gets ahead. That's what I think is really important, not just regress back into that because it's cool or whatever, you know, take the good parts, leave the bad parts.
That's right, man. And, I'll just jump in quickly on a comment. I received a message, right? Now, the message said it was in regards to that video with the girl that got bashed. Now, they were saying something like, was it because of the way that they were raised that they were delivering that kind of violence, you know, passing it on and so on? And like, I didn't reply to that message because I just think that it's stupid to think that. I think it's stupid to think that, like...
it's a stupid justification, you know? It's a justification of a non-human activity. Like, you're still human at the end of the day.
They've done wrong, bro. That's trying to find them an excuse for what they've done. What they've done was sickening regardless of how you're raised. It doesn't matter. It's wrong. Everyone knows it's wrong.
That's right. And that's why I didn't reply, because when I do reply, I'll reply. I was typing it up. And I realized, like, man, I'll blast your heart, you know, like.
Good, delete that.
Yeah, I refused to reply, and I'll just make sure that they've seen that I've seen their message. Because, man, you can't justify someone else's behavior on how you're, you know, like on how they were raised. No, not at all.
And we're still human beings at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, human being traits don't change. What's good and what's bad as a human, you still know, you can still pick a lot of right and wrong. It might be blurred, but that's the extreme length of wrong. That doesn't matter how you're raised, by.
When you grow up, you know, rough, or even when you grow up good, man, you take certain traits. Like, I know for a fact, you know, say for instance, I'm not going to mention who, but I grew up. I had a mate of mine. His old man used to flog his mum, right? And my mate, he's fucking solid as, bro. Like, he hates it and would never do it because of that. And he changed his life because of it. But then there's the next dude along who goes, oh, well, my dad did it. That's why I do it. And makes
it's all perspective, eh? It's all perspective.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
To me, like, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, certain people in certain extreme circumstances, they do have excuses when it comes to not being taught the right way. But regardless of who you are or what you are, you know right and wrong, bro. You know when you're a bad cunt. You know you're doing the wrong thing. You know you're going to get arrested. You choose to do it, and you know if you're going well in life. There's a line down the middle, bro. I know for a fact now, like me 3 years ago with this COVID shit, I wouldn't have dealt the way I'm dealing now. I would have been off on fucking benders every day, trying to get over it, trying to make excuses as to not succeed. I think you know, as you grow up a little bit and you start taking accountability and start taking responsibility for what you've done or what you know, then you start growing a little bit. And what I think most people do is they fuck up and they go, oh, well, it's not my fault. That's how I learned. And I just think that's wrong, man. I just think I'd hate for my kid to go, hey, Dad, you did something when I was young and now I do it. Like, I'll take, you know what I mean? Just take responsibility for yourself, you little prick.
Mate, one thing that I cannot stand is that they play the mental card at court. Like, and you know, I don't want to swear too loud, but man, they should just shut the fuck up, you know. Like, only I don't want to swear too loud. My kids are listening. Anyways, but the mental card, right? When they play that mental card and say that, oh, I'm mentally like disturbed, I'm mentally affected by how I was growing up. That's why I raped this girl. That's why I killed this person. And then the judges, right? Our justice system let them off, which is more disturbing. Because then who do we rely on? Who do we trust to get these people off the street? And then so on, you know? How do they learn? How can somebody learn from their mistakes?
And how do you teach your kids? How do you teach your kids to trust the justice system and to trust, you know, like, I'll never tell my kids to not like police because I feel like it's the wrong thing to do. Because if they ever needed them, I'd like to think my kids would go to them. But I grew up in a sense where I can't trust. I don't trust them, man. I've had certain things happen to me or friends, and in that, how do you expect your kids to grow up and trust the justice system when they're giving someone that's raped someone fucking bail? You know what I mean? I don't understand that. It's hard to understand.
Nah, rubbish. You know, like, I teach my son to make sure that he looks after his sisters. I teach my son, no matter what cost, you will protect your sisters, protect your mum. And for example, on the weekend when I bashed that guy for the road rage incident, my son was in the car and he was watching it. My girls were in the car as well, you know. And then when we got home, he was shaken up and as he should be. And you know, he's only 10 years old, right? And he's watching me bash this guy. Now, I was explaining to him days and days after the incident, saying that it was important that I did that to make sure that you and his mum were safe. You make sure, you know, so protecting your family is number one priority. Fuck the police. I don't give a damn about the police. And I always stand by that because you can't trust them. You can't trust anybody to look after your family except for yourself.
Well, I said that thing to you, Dane, straight after that. So like I'm a little bit, you know, I will raise my kids, you know, I believe big in, you know, everything has a consequence, right? Everything has a consequence. Every action has a consequence. And when you do something, you need to do it with whether it's a positive or a negative consequence, you need to accept it before you do it. And that's what I was saying to you in that message, Dane, is like I grew up learning, I didn't learn to not trust the police. I was the opposite. But through some of my dealings as a kid growing up, I sort of, you know, was a bit iffy on the fact. And the one thing that I took away was I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. And I sent that to you, right? Because the whole, you know, yeah, sure, the law tells you what the consequence is if you do something. There's people out there that don't give a shit, right? So the law, you waiting for the police isn't going to stop that thing from happening. And I think what I want to teach my kids is to know that difference, you know, like if it's in a situation where your family can still get hurt or killed waiting for the police, then you need to, like, this is on you. This is now something that you need to take in your hands because that's just a repercussion. It doesn't stop the action. And I had the same thing. My little sister started dating a couple of years ago, right? And I was worried that I said to them, like, every time I go over there, they'll just whinging about this boyfriend. And I dragged him outside and I said, Mum said, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I said, well, stop fucking telling me. And she goes, no, you got to let her learn herself. I said, well, I got to let her learn herself. She gets touched up. Like, she gets touched up by him because we've let it go. And then I go beat him up. Like, what if it goes too far? Like, you got to jump in before the outcome, you know what I mean? Like, something that's how you got to learn. And I think that's an important lesson, you know. I think with the political correctness, we get a bit soft and we leave it up to that. But there's got to be a fine line to keep people accountable.
It's so bad too. My little boy, he's 10 too. My eldest son's 10. And we've had conversations. Well, my oldest son is my stepson, and I've got 2 stepkids, my son and my daughter, but they're my kids, you know. I look after them like they're my own, bro. And he grew up, you know, with no real male presence around him, and he's a bit soft like his mum, and that's all well and good because it's not his fault. He's a good kid, but it kills me because I'm like, fuck, because someone's picking on him at school or picking on his sister. I'm like, bro, someone picks on your sister again and you don't fucking look after her, you're going to be dealing with me when you get home. You fucking fix it then and there, or you deal with me. And like, and then I got my little 3-year-old going, I'll go fix him, Dad. It's about that, like, it's nuts, bro. But I get what you're saying. Like, what you did the other day, I think if you don't do that, you're a coward. You know what I mean? If you don't go there and protect your family, mate, you're a coward. And for you to be in trouble and tried over certain things like that, I just feel like it is what it is. Consequences come with fucking, you know, shit comes with repercussions. And you knew when you went there that you're going to be in trouble, but fuck that. Because at the end of the day, you got to look after your family, bro. You know what I mean?
Nah, all day I'll do it again. There's no question. So
yeah,
like,
100%.
And
but what? Sorry, go on. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say, like, and all the Dr. Phil employees online, you know, jumping on their 2 cents. They can put that 2 cents back in their pocket and just wait till something happens to them and their family, and then come back and then let me know what happened.
Yeah, and that's the problem with justice system. Justice system doesn't stop anything, you know. Like, I don't want to put a message out there, you know, for especially with my background, like I'm down that way. I don't want to put a message out saying "fuck the justice system," that kind of stuff. Like but I know you do. But what I am saying is, people got to understand that the justice system doesn't stop anything. It just gives someone a consequence, and very light consequences in most scenarios. So you've got to weigh up whether. If you want, are you happier for that thing to still happen, and then someone gets a light consequence, or do you stop the thing happening? You know, people got to realise that.
Think of it this way, right? And I'm sure I guarantee both of you will agree. The people writing that shit are making pre-fucking examples, that are pre-excuses to not have to fucking defend their family if anything goes wrong. If they're writing that to you saying you shouldn't have done that, they're already going, I'm a bitch, I'm not going to look after my family. That's literally what they're saying. Because if I wrote that and my wife seen me write that, she'd go, "You're a bitch." Ask him. He knows.
she'd say it anyway.
My wife, bro, honestly, there's been a couple of situations where we've been.
Your wife would have been the one punching on.
Yeah, my wife will throw him. We've been out in the club and like someone kicked off, right? And there was a dude and a chick, and I'm saying to the dude, "Man, we don't want it. Just go away." Like we're in Penrith Panthers, bro. There's cameras on cameras. I said to my missus, I can't get arrested again. Like, we need to sort this shit out. Stop. And this chick, I was blind, was after a wedding. This chick headbutted me from the side, and I was that pissed. I didn't realise she fucking headbutted me. And my missus was ropeable going off. And when we got out there, because I stopped her from fighting, she goes, "You're a bitch." I'm like, "Fucking what?" And she goes, "You're a bitch." And I go, "All right, no worries. Let's go back in there then." I fucking hated it. But in the situation where you've got to defend him, you know what I mean? Like, and where something's going wrong, and it's your kids and your missus. See, with me, if I'm in danger, I'm all right. I'm sure you're the same. If someone comes at me and says something, I'd nearly go, "Righto, bro. No dramas."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But if you say or do that to my wife, I react. I can't. There's no other. It is what it is. I don't care whether you're man, woman, fucking child.
At this age, right? You know, at this age now, like, we are at an age where if somebody was to swear at me, right? Like right now, it wouldn't bother me. Like, I wouldn't care. But as you're saying, when you're with your wife and your children, it's a whole different level, that one.
You can't even help the way things come. You can't help it. It's just a reaction.
It's just a reaction, man. Regardless of what's going to happen, it's your reaction. As the male protector of your family, that should be your reaction. If not, like I said, you know, you're a dog.
All right, so Dane, we'll jump in. I want to hear. Half the reason I got you on here is I want to hear a bit more about, like, obviously you've been through. You can tell us as much or as little as you want. You've been through a bit of shit, and you seem to be at the point now where you're really growing and trying to come around and bring shit together from your past. You know what I mean? Like, trying to really, you're a real family man now, and you're getting that grind on and moving forward. I want to know a bit about what sort of, when and how did, like, your mindset switch to go from, because from everything I've read and everything I've gone through, you're in the mix of it. You're a well-known name, especially in the Brisbane hood. And I want to know what grew you up, and what did you sort of, like, what changed your mindset? It might not have been a change of mindset, but how you use that mindset to sort of progress into the family man and sort of moving forward and growing up a little bit.
Man, it took some time. You know, my son's 10 years old, but I'm not going to say that I've been the perfect father in the 10 years that he's been alive. So in the 10 years, you know, I've I've gone up and down, up and down. I was still on that decision making where it was like, you know, should I, you know, or do this, do that, do this, do that, and which it doesn't work. Does not work.
You got to go all in on one.
Yeah, you're either going to be a father, be a good husband, or, you know, be a bad guy and live that life. You know, you can't. It just doesn't work, right? And the police, you know, I'm well known to the police, and as I always say on every place I've spoken, or every person I've spoken to, it's not me trying to talk like a gangster or speak prideful of the things that I've done, but I'm well known to the police. So in the 10 years, I've dealt with the police more than I have back when I was getting into trouble.
Yeah.
Back in my troubled days. And then once my family left, so my wife and kids left Brisbane and moved to Darwin, which over 2 years ago now. About 2 years now. It was then like the realization of that part of my life I needed. There was no doubt about that. I knew, like, I didn't find joy in standing over people, doing drug dealers over, any of that kind of stuff, right? I did not find any more joy in that. And then to answer you on the time of the change, it was about maybe about a year and a bit ago, like over a year ago. You know, I that's when my progression commenced. Like, I went and tried for the army.
Yeah.
I went and applied for the army. I passed the aptitude test. I passed the fitness test. I did everything that was needed, but I wasn't allowed in because of my past.
Yeah.
So here I am, right?
I'll shut that out real quick.
Brother, mate, here I am trying to full commit myself to change, full commit myself to being a better person. I'm not saying that I was a bad person. Like, if I'm your mate, I'm your mate. I'm not a dog. Like, you know, like, but I mean, in
society's eyes, in your family's eyes.
Yeah, in society, you know, I wanted to move on and do that. So once I got the letter back saying that, you know, I had to fill out a form. I think it was a form 38 explaining why I deserved my position in the army. And the first thing that I was thinking in my head was like, man, I would kill anybody for this country. Like, but you can't say that, you know, like, you wouldn't mention
that's a psych rejection. That's a real quick psych rejection, bro.
You won't even finish your sentence and they've hung up the phone. Like, but it was that time that my family had moved to Darwin, and me being apart from them was the time that it touched me, you know, like, you know, it was tough. That time was tough for me. I took my anger out on a lot of people while I was away from my family. But I'm grateful that my wife had given me the chance to prove myself.
Yeah. Because
I had to prove myself to her. But not only for me to prove myself to her, I had to prove it to myself that I was like mentally ready to full commit and be the, you know, both feet in the shoes and walk that, you know?
Yeah, I think that's important, eh? So we do so much for external forces, but nothing really changes until within yourself you're ready to change it. You know what I mean? It's got to come from in there.
But even though, like, even saying that, like, my attitude is still, I don't give a damn what other people think, whether it be good or bad. I don't care. But it was more for me to change inside my household.
It only matters what you think and what your family think, bro. And like, essentially, what we figured out too, we've been doing this a couple of months now, and the more people we speak to, the clearer it gets. All these people that are starting to change their lives and go well and have this sort of positive impact on society, or whether that's what they mean to do or not, what it generally comes from is a belief in yourself to be better. And it comes from a belief in yourself to make other people better and not want to gain anything from it. And what I get from you is you're not too fast on, we're very similar. I couldn't give a fuck what anyone thinks of me. I go and do a podcast like this. I've got a few mates who are like, what are you doing? I go, fucking mate, you're still living at home with your mum. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, what do you got a problem with me having a crack for? I just don't understand it. And I get a sense out of you. You're very similar to that. You're like, I'll do what I've got to do for me and for my family. And if that means pissing other people off, then so be it. And if it means you're going to come along for the ride, so be it. But I think once you sort of get to that mental aptitude where you're doing the right thing for yourself, you generally become a much better person without meaning to. You know what I mean? You're not striving to be this great person in society. You just want to be better for you. But generally what happens is you turn around and go, oh, now that I'm doing that, I am a better person in society because I am trying to look after myself. And
that's exactly right. And that falls under, this is now I'm just going to just say this real quick on a commandment. The first commandment is to love our God exactly with everything, right? And if you follow the first commandment, everything that underneath the 10 commandments, the other 9, it falls under it. It's exactly what you're saying. I'm not trying to preach here. I'm not trying to preach at all, but it just pops up in my mind what you're saying. So me being a better dad, me being a better husband at home, in society, you're already just doing that naturally. You don't even know it yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not trying to preach or nothing like that here. I'm just saying that first.
No, do you, bro? Do you? I actually wanted to ask you about that. Was religion a big change, or have you always been religious?
Nah, bro. Like religion's. I'm a Mormon, man. I've been raised a Mormon all my life.
So is my family. My family's all Mormon.
All my life, man.
You're not a Mormon, cunt. You're a woman.
But you know what, bro? It's like church is church, and like I was doing the bad and going to church, and that just didn't work.
I've always wondered about that. I got like a Catholic side and then a Mormon side, and that was so contradicting to each other. I went, fuck, I don't want none of it. You know, like I walked away from religion young, but I don't like I still, me and Dad is very similar in the way. Dad grew up in a very heavily Irish Mormon household, and he still, he's not religious, doesn't go to church, but he still knows all the Bible and knows all the books, and we sort of similar like that. But I've always wondered that because I grew up with a lot of mates. We were doing whatever we were doing, and they always had a cross around their chest, and they always, they were always religious, and I just always wondered how that sat, because I thought
this is really cool.
Makes sense.
There's a cool insight at the moment. Like none of us, like my family on my mum's side, none of us are really religious. But my little sister, she's got a couple of friends at school now, and like she's really just. I mean, the younger society, there's lots of depression and there's lots of shit that goes on now in their minds because there's so much of it within social media and what goes on. They have a bad day. They think they're depressed. Like it's fucking crazy, man. Like when we were young, you just had a bad day. It was like, tomorrow will be better. The kids today, it's really like focused on like mental health. And don't get me wrong, it's good to be focused on that. But at the same time, it's good to let them know, like, you're going to have a bad day here and there, bro. It doesn't mean you're fucked up. But what my sister's doing at the moment, she goes to Hillsong. And at first I was like to my mum, what is she like? None of us are religious, man. What's she doing? And she said she likes it, she enjoys it, and it makes her feel good. She can do whatever the fuck she wants, Yeah. And I sort of thought about it, and I thought, that's true. And I feel like with faith and regardless of what your faith is or whether you don't believe it, the stronger you believe in something and the stronger you sort of put yourself to it, the better you're going to be in life in general. And I think, although I'm not Christian or religious at all, I know for a fact that mates of mine that have changed their lives based off of just the belief and based off of just the fact that, you know what, I'm going to put all of my into this and I'm going to believe in it. And that's just extended them on this mad path of whatever it is. So for that reason, I feel like religion has a real strong place in the world because when you do use it in the right way, it does have a good thing. It has a real good positive effect on numerous people. And all of these other people that go head on with different religions, I feel like it's irrelevant because they're all trying to get to the same place.
There's only one God.
Yeah.
There's only one God.
It's just a million different beliefs.
And you know what? Like, it's been created by man, for money. It's been created, for their own beliefs and whatever, and see, I've got a lot of friends that are Muslim too, like, and as I say, like, I'm not here to,
Is that why you got the beard?
Yeah, like, I've always had it, man. I've always had it. And like there's some days where if people ask me if I'm Muslim, I say yes. If people say, you know what I mean? Like, are you Muslim? Yes. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. like what they're talking about, you know, Allah, that's God. God, there's only one God, right?
Yeah.
And what I think is, if you're gonna live the best life that you're gonna live, the best you can, right? You've done your job here on earth. You know, like, who's to say that you're in the wrong or right?
Yeah, I think, I think that that's really important, Dane. Like I said, take religion out of it for a second, and the belief system and how to live your life, on a good track. It's just about being a good human being. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
right, man.
And the 10 Commandments and whatever everyone else's rules are, you don't have to be religious. They're all based on the same thing, and it's all a guide to whether you think there's a heaven or not, right? Whether you think there's an afterlife or not, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's all a belief. The belief system people have is to being a better human being and living a fulfilling life. You know what I mean?
I read this thing once, and it said that if you read the Bible and the Quran and whatever in a different context, if you read all of those things, they all lead the exact same path. They're written differently. They mean different things in a sense, but you're literally chasing the edge of the rainbow. Like, it's just leading you in the same direction in life. It's telling you to follow certain things, and it's telling you, you know, how to be a better person. And if you look at it that way, hey, bro, come say hello. If you want to say hello, quick, say hello.
Hey, little man.
Say, hey, bro, how you going? go with mum. Dad's in the front. Love you. Bye.
Yeah. It's all good, man. I just think, man, you know, like, you know, without the religion talk, just be a good person.
Yeah, that's 100%. So let's get into it. So, like we said, everything we've been through and everything with every guest we have, you know, leads to where we are. But what we do, we want to try and pull some lessons out for the youngins to sort of keep their eyes open and that kind of stuff. We'll go into the specifics around money, health, and lifestyle in a bit. But right now, just in general, is there any point in your life that you would go back and some experiences that maybe you would have a chat with yourself to try and steer yourself a little bit differently?
Listening to my dad more with the people that I was hanging around.
Okay. I think we all resonate with that one.
Man, that's like the main one. That would be the main one, because that was the cause of a lot of things. I should have listened, but you know, if I was to go back, it would be the circle of friends that I chose to hang around, for sure.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a massive one we talk about often. You know, you have that cliche, you know, the average of the 5 people we hang around and shit, but that's talking from like a business success mindset. But when we talk about the people that we probably used to hang around, like you can get, like I came from a pretty good home, man. Like I came from a pretty good home, and like we weren't wealthy or anything, but I see your posts around the food and stuff, Dane, you know, like that stuff, you know. One thing Mum always made sure is we had good food on the table, so we were okay there, but I never wore good clothes or anything like that. But you know, hang around the people I hung around with, like, yeah, it happened to me as well. You know, I got dragged into stuff that there was no real reason to do it, you know what I mean? And Mum, I thought I was too cool for Mum, you know what I mean? Mum was like...
That advice, though, that advice could go to anyone at any age. Like, if you look around yourself and your closest people don't want you doing better, fucking get rid of it. Like, it's such a simple analogy, but that first time your mum or your dad goes, that boy, he's a bad one, that one, stay away from him. Every single one of those, guaranteed you look back at those, I guarantee if you're doing better in life, you're not friends with that cunt anymore. No way.
Yeah,
you know
that's true, man. But, you know, like, I did a post the other day about perception.
Yeah.
And, like, that is a massive downfall. That is a huge downfall in today, because, one, you know, as a parent, you know, obviously you'd be looking at a kid and you'd say to your son, you know, don't hang around that kid. But maybe the way he looks is not the way he is, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I mean as in perception, you know?
That's a good point.
Yeah, and in saying that as well, like my dad, you know, being a single dad, you know, he did everything he could to always make sure that my brother and I were fed, we were clothed, and everything like that. So I appreciate everything my dad done, for us as growing up, you know. I wasn't just saying that because of how Ryan, you know how you're saying, like, you know, you didn't come from a wealthy family or anything like that, but you were always clothed, you're always well fed. And my posts on certain foods and stuff like that. That was the real struggle, man. And a lot of people on my Instagram, they can relate to what I say.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they've lived exactly the same way.
Yeah,
I
100%.
just ate 2-minute noodles for lunch, and not because I had to, but because that's what my go-to is. Because that's what I used to cook at home.
Yeah, see, Dane, me and Dan come from opposite, right? Like my parents, we always, when I say good food, like, you know, we had just a meat and 2 veg, right? Like we never had to. We were lucky enough. I never had to eat noodles. The first time I started eating like that, like I resonate with your posts because when I joined the army, that's when I started eating like that. Right? But Dan not different because
I used to eat those noodles dry, bro.
Yeah, because Dan as a kid used to have the schmickers clothes, right? But he's eating noodles. Where I was eating good and I had hand-me-downs. Like it's just different perspective, like, you know?
Different perspective. My mum would like, we'd be, you know, Christmas time, and like, fuck, my mum, bro. And to be fair, like, I can't even tell you how she got them. Like, I know how, but I can't tell you. But like, we would, you know, come Christmas time, I got 3 little sisters. You know, my mum was a single mum, and I'd always end up. I'm fucked for it still today too. I'm a brand person, bro. Because as a kid, I had Billabong and I had this and I had that, but I never, like, my mum cooked dinner, but for me it was like all the rest of my mates were eating 2-minute noodles, and everyone was eating dry noodles or tins of tuna. I used to take tins of tuna to school and sell them, and you know what I mean, like shit like that. When you put it into perspective now, I look back, I think I wonder why did my mum fight so hard for me to dress well? You know why? Why did that matter? And with my kids, like my kids dress well now, but they're in nice Kmart clothes. You know what I mean? Like, and I can get them the nice clothes if I choose to, but I don't want my kids to just think they're being judged based off of how they look either. You know, I think it's the wrong way to go about teaching your kids is to look at someone and judge them, especially in today's society with UFC. You walk down the street, you see a 60-kilo ring and wet little guy with glasses on, and he'll fucking snap your arm. It's silly to judge people.
Of course. These days. Of course.
I think something super important of what you back of you said, Dane, as well, is something I learned around the circle of friends is don't be afraid to be alone either. Like, don't be afraid to one out. Like, I went through a stage because I was a lonely kid. I latched on, and being a bigger kid, and I could scrap and I played footy. I was hanging out with those kind of kids, and I just did it because I wanted to be cool. You know what I mean? If I could, like what you said about that, not only is it watch who you hang around with, that kind of stuff, but don't be afraid to be one out. And if you can't find a good circle, be within yourself. You know what I mean? I think that's important as well. We sort of latch onto the wrong people sometimes because we feel lonely. You know?
It's nothing wrong with being by yourself. I'm always by myself. I'm fine.
the one out king.
I'm on mine. I fight myself sometimes, man.
I think most of us find ourselves more than anyone else. The biggest battles with yourself. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The next part we go into, we're going to go a bit deeper. So we've created this triangle of happiness, right, Dane? We're trying to, like I'm a financial planner, what I try and do is I'm a bit different. I try and teach people stop chasing money because I've dealt with people with millions of dollars that are unhappy as shit, right? And the only reason money is there is it's a vehicle to let you live the life you want to live. And, you know, it shouldn't be the reason you're happy. It should be the reason that it helps you get the things you're happy and non-materialistic kind of stuff. So we've developed this triangle of happiness that we think, you know, which creates real wealth, which the 3 things are. One is money. You do need money. Like, we can't lie about that. You need money to get by. But finding the balance between money, your health, I think, which is a massive thing that gets left behind, and then your lifestyle, you know. So balancing how you live your life, earning some money and that kind of stuff. So we're going to go into a bit more depth of that, just some tips, just some stories around that, just to see, because they're the main 3 mistakes we see. So first and foremost, bro, we'll start with the easiest one. Or is there any, looking back, you know, whether it was doing things to chase money or whatever, is there any money tips that you'd go back to yourself and sort of slap yourself upside the head or give yourself some tips on to sort of help you get ahead around the money sort of things?
So I'll answer this in 2. The first, I'll say no, because back when I was growing up, man, I would steal money to make sure my brother would eat.
Okay.
That was a real important part in my life, was to make sure that, you know, I give my money to my brother. Like, anytime I would get money, I'll give it to him to make sure he ate. 2, with all the money that I made, you know, through like drug dealing, you know, all the bad stuff, I should have invested it into something. because there was so much money that's just gone to waste. So I would go back and put it into something that, you know, that could be useful for now. But, you know, obviously I didn't. And yeah, that would be the main tip for anybody, man, out there. Put your money into something that's going to be useful for you.
It works for you.
Yep. 100%.
And do you think, is there any time you look back where you felt like you might have been chasing money because you thought it was the answer to your problem, and now you kind of learned that that's not the biggest factor? Like now you're sort of learning that it helps, but it's not, there's more to life than money. Is there anything around that you can pinpoint?
Of course, bro. Like a lot of the drama at home was me, you know, having, how do I say it? I had all these runners, right? And, you know, my main goal was to make sure there was always money at home. But my wife, she's always got money, like, and we didn't need that. But I was focused on that, which caused a lot of drama at home.
So you're taking all this extra risk and extra stress for something that wasn't adding that much value.
There was no point.
Well, I've seen that. I've been there, because it's not only that it's not a value, it's the one stress that you can't deal with. It's the one thing pushing you over the limit in your relationship, where if without it, you probably wouldn't be having the arguments or the stresses, but you think you're stressing about something that means, you know, you think you're stressing about the right things, but when you look back at it and put it into perspective, that's probably the one thing you're having the issues about. I fully get that too, bro.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. All for what, a couple grand?
Yeah.
Like
that's crazy, man. That's what we talk about. People come to me every day and they're like, how can you make me as much money? I go, fuck, stop. Like, what do you want money for? And everyone's goal is to make money because they think more money is better, but they just keep chasing money, and you don't get any happier. So we focus on, I talk to people all the time, it goes, fuck the money off. Stop talking about money. What makes you happy? How do we make you happy? You know, and I want to point on this with you, because from my growing up experience, I took this, but you even from your growing up, our parents didn't have a lot of money, any of ours, right? But there's people in those communities growing up that they probably were happier doing what they were doing than what a lot of us have done with some of the amounts of money we've had. You know what I mean? Like, if you can be happy like that, why are we chasing so much? You know what I mean? When
you go and buy those extravagant things too, like I know for a fact, for me, now that, you know, now I work hard for my money now, man. I've got progresses in place, and every time I purchase something, that's for, you know, the jet ski. I bought the jet ski for the family for the summer. It's rewarding, man, because it's like, I worked my fucking ass off for that. I bought it. It's ours. We can use it, and that's it, right? Whereas back in the day when you made that type of money and you know, it was easy come, easy go, you spend that type of money, there's no reward at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
You're rewarded for 10 minutes. You buy it and you're like, yep, I bought the ski for the family. But then it's like, because it's so easy come, easy go, it means nothing. Like there's no feeling of accomplishment, I don't believe, as opposed to when you work for it. I struggle now to understand how I used to live that life before. Because now with what we do now, I just look at it and I just think, fuck, man, I just could not think of a better way to make myself feel. I go to work, I earn money, I come home, or like yourself for boxing. It's a fucking hard slug doing a 10-week camp. Like, everyone knows how hard it is for a boxer to drop weight and do all these things. You get in there, you fight someone, you get paid, you come home, you're accomplished. Regardless of win or loss, you fucking earned money to do that. Whereas going and kicking a door in and taking someone else's cash, it's fun when you're 18, but fuck me, it becomes not fun when you're a bit older with a family, yeah?
Yeah, but you know, in saying that, like, with the runners and stuff like that, I wasn't a drug dealer. I was like security. I was security. So, like, I just want to clear that up just so anybody else thinking like I was a drug dealer. No, I was not a drug dealer. But everyone on the street that knows that I was just the security. I was security. But when you get easy money, it goes fast. Like you say, you tend not to appreciate it as much as you do when you work for it. And like, that's why, man, that's to answer that question, if I could go back, man, I wish I'd just put all that money into something that, you know, it would be.
At least some of it, eh? At least some of it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I was spending on fucking rubbish, man.
But you probably don't have half of it now anyway.
Brother, yeah, I sit there and think now, like, I spent all that money on that. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, shucks.
I know what you mean. I do with people like that every day, bro. like this bloke here.
Yeah, I get in trouble. I get in big trouble off this guy. Like one day, he's ringing me. Yeah, but he's so. You know what this motherfucker does, Dane? He goes, he rings me and harasses me. I bought a jet ski. What the fuck you doing? We're supposed to be saving money. And then 2 days later, rings me and says, "Hey, I've got a share in a horse. Do you want to buy in?" You know what I mean? And then, of course, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's buy in. And then, but in saying that too, man, since we've been doing these podcasts and that, just sort of thinking about it, because you know, obviously we get to talk to people like you, and we talk to other people, and everyone has their different point of views, or they've been brought up differently, or they've been raised differently, but it always ends up the same sort of view. Like everyone's looking at it like, you know, if I had been more conscious, if I had thought about it a little bit more, I might have been in a different spot now. I could have fast-tracked my life. And that's sort of exactly what we're trying to do here, is if we go, you know, if one person watches this, is a kid watching it, and he's doing exactly what we used to do and crazy shit with that type of money, and he can go, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll put 10% away. Maybe I'll put $20 a week away. If he can do something like that and we manage to just change one person's perspective on it, then that's sort of what we're here for, you know?
That's all it is, man. And the first thing people should get out of their head is not listen to people say that money's not everything. Because one, you need money. You need money. So for those people that say that money's not everything, it's right, but you still need money.
It's something.
Yeah, of course
Not
it
everything
is.
is
Of
something,
course.
yeah.
It's the vehicle. That's what people have got to just change their mindset from it being the goal to the vehicle to your goals, you know? And
that's the one. That's all it is. That's all it is.
It takes the power straight. You got to take the power out of money, bro. That's what we tell you.
He loves that analogy. He loves it. He gets mad responses all the time with that analogy. All the time.
All right.